warning severity. Extreme extraordinary threat to life or property. Weather event onset 5:07 p.m. EDT, October 7th. Description: a hurricane warning means hurricane force winds are expected somewhere within this area within the next 36 hours. Wind. Latest local forecast. Equivalent tropical storm force wind. Peak wind forecast, 40–50 miles per hour with gusts to 75 miles per hour. Window for tropical storm force winds, Wednesday evening until Thursday afternoon. Threat to life and property that includes typical forecast uncertainty in track, size and intensity. Potential for winds 74 to 110 miles per hour. The wind threat has remained nearly steady from the previous assessment. Plan for life-threatening wind of equivalent CAT1 or 2 hurricane force. Prepare. Efforts to protect life and property should now be rigorously underway. Prepare for considerable wind damage. ACT. Act now to complete preparations before the wind becomes hazardous. Potential impacts: extensive, considerable roof damage to sturdy buildings, with some having window, door, and garage door failures leading to structural damage. Mobile homes severely damaged, with some destroyed. Damage accentuated by airborne projectiles. Locations may be uninhabitable for weeks. Many large trees snapped or uprooted along with fences and roadway signs blown over. Some roads impassable from large debris, and more within urban or heavily wooded places. Several bridges, causeways, and access routes impassable. Large areas with power and communications outages. Flooding rain. Latest local forecast. Flood watches in effect. Peak rainfall amounts, additional 3 to 6 inches, with locally higher amounts. Threat to life and property that includes typical forecast uncertainty in track, size and intensity. Potential for major flooding rain. The flooding rain threat has remained nearly steady from the previous assessment. Plan. Emergency plans should include the potential for major flooding from heavy rain. Evacuations and rescues are likely. Prepare. Strongly consider protective actions, especially if you are in an area vulnerable to flooding. ACT. Heed any flood watches and warnings. Failure to take action will likely result in serious injury or loss of life. Potential impacts: extensive, major rainfall. Flooding may prompt many evacuations and rescues. Rivers and tributaries may rapidly overflow their banks in multiple places. Small streams, creeks, canals, and ditches may become dangerous rivers. In mountain areas, destructive runoff may run quickly down valleys while increasing susceptibility to rock slides and mudslides. Flood control systems and barriers may become stressed. Floodwaters can enter many structures within multiple communities, some structures becoming uninhabitable or washed away. Many places where floodwaters may cover escape routes. Streets and parking lots become rivers of moving water with underpasses submerged. Driving conditions become dangerous. Many road and bridge closures with some weakened or washed out. Tornado. Latest local forecast. Situation is somewhat favorable for tornadoes. Threat to life and property that includes typical forecast uncertainty in track, size and intensity. Potential for a few tornadoes. The tornado threat has remained nearly steady from the previous assessment. Plan. Emergency plans should include the potential for a few tornadoes. Prepare. If your shelter is particularly vulnerable to tornadoes, prepare to relocate to safe shelter before hazardous weather arrives. ACT. If a tornado warning is issued, be ready to shelter quickly. Potential impacts: limited. The occurrence of isolated tornadoes can hinder the execution of emergency plans during tropical events. A few places may experience tornado damage, along with power and communications disruptions. Locations could realize roofs peeled off buildings, chimneys toppled, mobile homes pushed off foundations or overturned, large treetops and branches snapped off, shallow-rooted trees knocked over, moving vehicles blown off roads, and small boats pulled from moorings.